Herzlich willkommen zurück auf unserem YouTube-Channel Einfach Storage, alles rund um das Thema IBM Storage. Heute haben wir Ian Schäf wieder hier bei uns und Ian ist ein sehr gern gesehener Gast. Ian ist weltweit verantwortlich für unser Vertrieb, für das gesamte Thema Storage Infrastructure und er nickt, weil er noch nicht versteht, was ich sage. So I'm just basically introducing yourself, right?
Sure.
Saying
yes.
that you are a very appreciated guest on our channel.
Ah, thank you.
So welcome back, Ian.
It's not what you said before the video started, Torsten, but okay, that's fine.
Yeah, you see. So Ian, we already had maybe a year ago interesting discussion on the whole subject of cyber resilience. Right now, time evolved. We are now in 2024. Now all the regulation around DORA and NIS is much more prominent as well in the press. I think our customers have a much better understanding of what's coming down the line and what they need to do now. That's the one hand side. And on the other hand, I think when we see a lot of our customers as well being affected, and I just would like to ask you, with your experience and with your customer insight, if you can share us what you see in your interaction with your customers.
Sure. I mean, it's interesting you say about, everyone's now aware of DORA, and I think you said, and I think they understand it. I'm not sure all of them do by any stretch of the imagination, is the unfortunate reality. So yes, I think the awareness has clearly increased significantly over the last year. Of course, we've also heard that some of the top banks in Europe, their audit to check they're compliant with DORA is booked. So they've actually been telling us next year, they've told us this is the date we know we're going to get audited on this.
Okay,
so
they're ticking.
Yes, and so they're starting to go, and we think we'll be okay. So I think there's a lot of organisations there are some that obviously that have done the proper due diligence and they are ready. There are some that think they'll be okay. There are some that are going to wait for the audit to help them understand where the gaps are. But I think, the regulations is kind of one thing. But it's truly what is the cost impact? Because, of course, for some organisations, the regulations don't necessarily apply to them. So does that mean they're okay? Does that mean cyber attacks are not relevant to them? Well, they are. They're relevant to everybody, is the unfortunate thing. And so what we've actually been looking at, if you look at over the last 12 months, or probably last couple of years, some of the cyber attacks that have been happening, the cost implications to organisations are huge. So in the most extreme, for one health organisation, their cost they attributed to the attack was $872 million. Now, if that doesn't make people want to sort of ensure that they have more secure environments, I don't know what does. Now, the trouble with a number that big, though, of course, is some people go, oh, it's just for the big organisations, it isn't relevant for me. But we've seen very recently in the press that it's now. Have I forgotten the stat? 60%, right, we go. 60% of organisations actually in the small and medium enterprise go bust within 6 months of a cyber attack.
60%, if affected, will...
So if they have an attack, it potentially could cause... Because, of course, if you think about the cost scale I just sort of spoke about, and we've seen other ones, it's 25 million, it's 50 million. The point is, if you don't have the cash reserves, how do you cope with the cost impact? And so we've seen... There's those that go out of business. We've seen some that go into administration. Some manage to come back out, but it's hugely impactful. And for some, particularly after, downturns in an economy, it could be the thing that breaks them. So if they're actually struggling a bit and then an attack happens, they just don't have the way to recover from it.
Now is IT security, cyber resilience a very complex and broad topic, right? I mean,
Sure.
We are looking at the storage, at the data side of the entire complexity. So do you see any changes, any additional awareness in the customers coming up on the data-specific requirements?
I think it definitely is increasing. In fact, there was something recently where now there was a survey done and it was 69% of organizations that have had an attack and have now recovered said it was fundamentally different to a disaster. Because this is the thing we've seen, certainly the customers I've been talking to for the last probably 3 years, there's been this assumption that all of their data protection practices are going to be okay. So a combination of their cybersecurity software, so preventing people getting in, and the traditional data protection and recovery methodologies, we'll be okay. There's been this assumption. And I think there's now this realization that no, it's different. There's actually different practices, and you need different copies. You need secure copies, these secure immutable copies we talk about. If you haven't got those, can you get back? And if you haven't got them in the right places, how quickly can you get back? Because there was another statistic from a report we saw that it's something, I think it was 61% of organizations took more than 4 days to recover normal business operations after an attack. So now you understand why the cost impact is so huge. And in fact, the latest cost of a data breach report from IBM, it actually shows that now 30% of the cost of a breach is just from the downtime. So not being able to be operational. So it's huge.
It's huge. So if an IBM customer or potential customer sees now this conversation and he thinks he's in good shape, but he wants to make sure he's in good shape, what would be your recommendation as a starting point? Where are there assets? How to proceed?
Well, so in the first instance, actually on the website, we have a very simple 10 questions to be, that can help you understand kind of roughly where you fit. More than likely, that's going to lead to, we need to do a cyber resiliency assessment. We actually do a free cyber resiliency assessment. It's about 2 hours of a customer's time. We go through a bunch of questions and just help them understand where their blind spots are. And I have spoken to many customers who go, no, but we think we're okay. And I said, well, it's not going to cost you anything. It's 2 hours of your time.
So it's for free. It's just basically...
Yeah, 2 hours of your time. It's about 2 hours to do the assessment and then about an hour afterwards to show them the results.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, we show you good. And what a great document to have to show to your senior management that you've done a great job. But maybe we find some areas that actually do need addressing. And obviously there could be different severity levels. It could be some way we go, you need to do something quickly, you're in danger. Or it could just be, these are going to be some additional best practices based on regulations we might know that are coming in the future, for example.
Cool. So we'll make sure that there is a link to this assessment underneath the video, of course.
Yep.
So very exciting. So, I mean, we talked now about the current status. So what do you think if we'll meet again in half a year with the same interaction? Where do you think it's all solved and we'll sit here in a year and say, oh yeah, there was something that was called cyber threats. So is this around the corner?
What I do hope is that we'll be able to talk about more customers that after an attack, how they did manage to recover. So, we have got some, obviously, really fortunately. We've, in fact, there was a organization based over in Canada that had an attack. Their VMware environment was all blown up. All the passwords had been changed. They couldn't get access. It turned out their backup environment, which obviously wasn't IBM's, they couldn't recover from that. Fortunately, they were using our safeguarded copy technology on their flash system. It was the only thing that helped them recover their business.
Right.
So I hope we can talk more stories like that where we're helping people get back. And importantly, we help them get them back in hours. So not days, we got them back in hours. Because there's some data, if it takes a week, you're probably not going to worry too much. There's going to be some data that's sort of archival. You don't need a rapid access. Getting the business operations back up and running fast, because every minute that's not available, they're losing money.
So I'm looking forward to invite you back very soon for some additional
lots of good stories.
Good, encouraging stories. Thanks a lot, Ian, having you. Always a pleasure. Vielen Dank für Ihr Interesse, für die Diskussion auf Einfach Storage und bis bald.